Okay, so I got a new toy for my Nikon Z5. Now, if you saw the last video that I made, I couldn't get my Tamron lenses to work on the Z5. Here's my Z5. And the problem was that the Tamron G1 versions just don't work with the Nikon Z5. So I took both of those lenses and went into New York City the other night and went into Adorama and I picked up this. So now I could have bought the 70-200 Z-mount lens, but that one's $2,700, and I picked up this Sigma 70-200 f2.8. It's a beast of a lens. It's a big, heavy lens. I mean, really, really nice lens. It's a 2.8 lens, like I said, and this I bought used. It looks brand new. I don't know if you can see it, but there's almost no blemishes or anything. It's practically brand new. And the lenses are perfect. $1,100. Now, when I mount it to the Z5, it makes it heavy, and it's probably bigger than the Z-mount 70-200, but you know, it's going to serve my purpose, I think. So I just want to give you a quick overview of the lens, and maybe I'm going to run outside and take a couple of shots of my daughter and show you some images from it. So here it is on the camera. The one thing I'm not in love with is that the tripod collar is kind of fixed. You can remove it here with Allen keys, but you know, it's probably, I'll just turn it up like this so it's kind of out of my way when I'm shooting. And then if I need to, I can quickly just flip this down and put it where I want it. Now, when I was trying this out in the store, I tried it out with a Nikon 70-200, the latest version of their lens, and the Tamron G2 version of the 70-200. And out of all of them, this one, the focus rings and the zoom ring felt the best to me, and it actually was the fastest focusing. I had my daughters moving around in the store, and I was tracking them and pulling, you know, the camera on and off them, and it would pick them up right away. And shooting around in the store, there was crazy lighting and, you know, reflections and things like that, and all the cases with the gear. This thing found focus faster than the Nikon lens. So I was really happy with its performance, and the fact that it was $600 less than the equivalent Nikon made it like a no-brainer for me. So I'm really, really happy with this, and it works perfectly with the FTC adapter and the Z5. So I'm going to jump outside and let's take some pictures with it. Come on. Hey Joel, come here. Yeah, you're going to be in the video. She doesn't want to be in the video. What?
Wait, Dad, I have to go in like 5 minutes.
Just put your stuff down for a second.
I have to go in 5 minutes.
That's great.
Am I going to make it 5 minutes?
Yeah. Wow, that's bright. Okay. All right, so I have my test subject here. Say hi.
Hi.
All right, so I'm going to just grab the 70-200 here and just take some shots. So let's see if we can set this up. So I have the image stabilization on, and I'm just going to fire away and just see how sharp these images are, and you know what I can get here with a couple of quick test shots.
Your cap is
Lens cap is on.
Is that your new lens?
Okay, so those shots were taken in single point autofocus. Now I'm going to use the eye detect and see if it just tracks her face without an issue. So that was perfect. The thing about the eye autofocus that's great is you can just frame your shot any way you want, and it tracks the eye. So if you want your subject to be low in the frame or high in the frame, or you want to move them from side to side, you don't have to mess around with the joystick and moving your focus point around, which I think is huge. So I'm going to edit these images and then we'll take a look at them. Okay, so I edited some pictures, and I have them here in the computer. And what I'll say is that they're sharp. The pictures are really, really sharp. This lens is great. This is probably one of the best feeling lenses I've ever held. It feels solid, it's heavy. So if you have trouble, you know, maybe you have some issues holding up something that's this heavy, this is a really heavy lens. I think I'm going to be fine with it. I don't mind a big lens like this if the results are really good. So that's something you definitely want to think about, though. It has a focus limiter on the, so in other words, what's going to happen is if you are want to focus at something that's maybe 15 yards away from you. If something crosses your path a few feet in front of you or 4 or 5 feet in front of you, it's not going to lose focus and grab that thing that's in front of you. It's going to stay focused on what's behind the what's behind that focal plane. So this is great if you're shooting in sports or something and there's a lot of moving parts, and maybe you want to shoot something that's a little further down the field or something that's a little further away, or maybe you're shooting I don't even know what you would be shooting. Whatever it is, it could be at animals, or if you're doing wildlife photography, and if something moves in front of you, you're not going to lose focus on whatever your subject is off in the background. There's another switch here. It's a manual focus, autofocus, and in the middle there's a button that says MO. So that middle button there, this lens has autofocus, manual focus, override, and manual focus. So when it's in manual focus, the autofocus doesn't work. And then when you're in autofocus mode, I believe you can override it, but once you put your finger down on the shutter or however you focus, it locks that focus in, and then you can't manually override. There's a button in the middle called MO, which is manual override. So once you have focus locked, you can still tweak it by spinning the focus ring. So that might be useful in some situations. The stabilization is great. Now, if you saw our last video where we talked about image stabilization with the IBIS and these mirrorless cameras and how many stops they're supposed to get, well, I actually did better than I could do with the kit lens that comes with the Z5. It's a 24-70 f4 lens. It's actually the kit lens that comes with the Z6. But that lens is a very nice lens, but the best I could do was 3 stops of image stabilization. With this lens, with the image stabilization on, I was able to get almost 5 stops of stabilization handheld. So the combination of both was really great, and this is going to be something I'm really going to enjoy with this lens, especially if I don't want to crank up my ISO and I want to try to mess around with those slower shutter speeds, hand holding, especially with a telephoto lens, the long end. If you're shooting at 200 millimeters, you really want to make sure your shutter speeds are where they need to be, otherwise you're going to get blurry images. This is going to help with that. When you're shooting on a tripod, you don't want to use that, but handheld, this could help. So in low light situations, maybe you're shooting at night and you don't want to crank your ISO all the way up. This is going to be nice to have in combination with the image stabilization inside the camera. So let's look at some of the pictures. So these are the first 3 I took with my daughter. These are the ones I used to focus, a single focus point, and tried to place it on her eye. And I have my camera set in continuous autofocus. And as you can see, the first 2 are sharp. But this third one is not. So, and this is with me deciding, where I want focus. And I missed. So that's my mistake. Now, the next 3 shots are with the camera using the eye tracking autofocus, and all 3 of them are sharp. So I don't know if that's better. It's not a very unscientific, experiment here. I'm going to be using this camera more. We're planning on going into the city next week, hopefully, and doing some shooting around, and I'm going to be trying it out in wide landscape shots. I'm going to do some real tight images of this. Maybe we'll do some portraiture, and we're going to give the cameras, and I'm going to give my new lenses a real run through. All this gear is new to me, and I really can't wait to use it. So that should be an interesting video, and I'm not really sure how we're going to shoot it yet. If we're going to do one video with both of us, or I may do my own, and Eric may do his own, talking about his camera and the experience that he's getting. I was actually thinking about using the camera as my video camera and then shooting around with it and giving you my feedback right there on the spot, but also using the video functions in the Z5. So we'll see how that works out. So in closing, this 70-200 2.8 image stabilized Sigma lens is a beast. It's a heavy, well-made, fantastic feeling lens. It's professional quality in every sense of the word, and I don't think you can go wrong owning this lens in any way. I happened to get it for $1,100. It's $1,395, I think, brand new, which is still a decent price. It's expensive, but this is a really quality lens that you would keep for years. And the Nikon version of this was $1,900. So you're still going to save, $500 over the Nikon version. And Sigma's lenses work flawlessly with the FTZ adapter and the Nikon Z mount cameras. So this was a really nice lens. And if you wanted to get the native lens to the Z mount cameras, you're looking at $2,800. So, you know, it's expensive, and they will work perfectly with that. But this lens is actually, I can use this with I still have a D7500 here that I can use as a backup camera in a pinch, and this will work with it. I don't have to adapt it or anything like that. So it's kind of nice to have a lens like this that works with DSLRs and the new mirrorless cameras. I'm going to leave some videos here. I'm going to leave our image stabilization video that we did, I think it was last week. This way you get an idea of, you know, what we were talking about with the image stabilization. And then I'm going to leave my Z5 first impressions video. See you in the next video.